Leah.
Yes.
Trust in me. Trust in me. Just close your eyes and trust in me. Leah. 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 Wake up. I'm Lamont, and I am interested in learning about different ways to build trust.
And I'm Leah. Yeah, I trust you. Maybe. And you're tuning into
the
the Lamont N Leah podcast.
So, Leah, last week we had Dylan on our show, and we were talking about platonic intimacy, and it really turned out that may have not really been the problem, right? And we discovered that maybe trust and learning to trust, especially people that we're not comfortable with or strangers, is the issue. And so we're like, we need to have a part 2.
And we did it. We didn't wait a few months. We're like, next week, part 2, trust.
So, yeah. So, Leah, what is trust and how would you define it?
I don't know, bro. I thought you were going to tell me.
Well, from your like perspective, from your history, from your experiences, like, what do you think you've learned trust to mean to you?
Trust to me is thinking or knowing that the person in question is not going to hurt you. Maybe.
Yeah.
I've always heard that I'm too trusting of people. So, I don't know.
So yeah, to trust means to feel safe with, right? So we expect them not to hurt us physically. We expect them not to hurt us emotionally, or even spiritually. So, yeah. So trust. How would I define trust? I feel like I've been told that too, Leia. I feel like I have been told I trust easily. Like I give people like the benefit of the doubt, until they mess up. And maybe that's not always the best way to approach things, but I rather approach it that way versus like having guards up, like, who are you? Don't talk to me. Like,
Yeah.
you know. So for me, I guess I would define trust as the ability to share a little bit of comfort, maybe, or feel safe to
Be yourself?
yeah, I guess be myself.
I guess when I trust
Feel
someone,
normal, I guess.
yeah, when I trust someone, I don't feel like I need to front for the most part.
So if you are needing to front, that's a good time to reflect. Be like, why am I feeling like not myself? Why do I feel like I have to go this extra mile? What's happening in the environment?
For me, it's more of like not pretending that I'm like someone else. It's more like pretending that I have a confidence that I might not have. Like, I guess Patrick is not a great example because I'm so comfortable around him.
Right.
I guess it would be some of our other friends. Like, I like to play this role that I'm a very confident, outspoken person. And, like, maybe with the people I really trust and feel comfortable with, like you, like Patrick, like my siblings, that's true. But with other people, I feel like I have to act like that. Like, fake it till you make it, you know?
You know, I grew up watching a lot of Xena Warrior Princess.
Yes.
And there was this one scene where, like, this guy had to beat Xena. He had to be the best. And, like, he's fighting her and stuff. And basically, at the end of the episode, he learns a lesson that he may not need to put up this front of being the best, and that he's going to pretend to be good until he actually is good. I always thought that was an interesting episode. But that's kind of like what I was like reminding me of what you were saying right now, like fake it till you make it. Like I may not be feeling 100% confident right now, but I'm gonna pretend that I am, and eventually I'm gonna feel that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's not a bad skill to have because that's who you are. Like you are a confident, outspoken person, but in the moment you may not feel like it. So you're kind of like calling on powers that you already have, but may not have like feel emotionally connected to until you do. That's kind of how I'm like picturing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So between you and I, we have decided that trust is something that we feel comfortable with, something that we feel someone or people that we feel safe with, that are emotionally safe, are physically safe, that are spiritually safe, and they're not out to hurt us.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are some of the things that get in the way of trust?
Meaning, like, get in the way of you trusting someone, or get in the way
or
of
like developing that trust or building that trust.
Yeah. Definitely someone who doesn't speak respectfully to you. That makes me feel like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're not as safe as I think they are.
Yeah, so that lack of care, like, okay, so respect is the definition of respect is to be considerate of other people's thoughts, feelings, emotions, right? That's the definition of respect. So if you're not being considerate and you're being inconsiderate, you're not showing that you care. You are not showing that interest, right? I think one of the biggest like pet peeves of mine is nonchalantness. And just to be like a little forthcoming, I've been struggling with a coworker at work. And I want to say that's one of the biggest turnoffs. Like one of the things that puts me in a bad mood is like, say like we're like in a meeting and we're teaming and we're all enjoying each other's time and we're being like nice, and she comes in with this nonchalant attitude. I'm like, what is her problem? Like, why can't you get on board? Why can't you team with us? And like, those are, again, I had to check myself before I wrecked myself. That's Leah. And I had to realize, like, first of all, she doesn't have to be on board. Like, not everyone needs to be happy all the time. Yeah. And she's definitely not happy all the time. But second, also, like, I think it's okay for her not to have an interest. And I have to be okay with her not having that interest. But that makes me feel like I can't trust her and I don't feel safe around her. And I think I've ever said that to coworkers before when certain incidents come down. Like, I don't trust her. I don't feel safe. She doesn't make me feel safe. Yeah. I don't feel like I can team with her.
Yeah. Related, well, to like the coworker thing. Something that like really breaks my trust with people is when I hear them talking about other people in like not a, like, I feel like there's a difference between talking bad about someone and bringing up concerns with other people.
Right.
Like a coworker, if they're not doing their job. It's different if you're just like, oh my God, they're so lazy, versus, hey, I'm concerned about so-and-so because they're not really showing up. What are we going to do about this? Like, when I hear someone talking bad about someone, I'm like, what are you saying about me? Right. What are you saying about me? I don't know if I trust you.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had conversations where I was like, I don't like this, or blah, blah, blah. So I'm saying the experience that I have, and it's okay for me to talk about that experience, but it's not okay for me to be like, this person's lazy, or this person's mean, or stupid, or whatever. It's not okay to put labels on them, but I can say, like, I didn't like this experience. It really sucked.
Yeah.
You know. And so that's the difference between like me talking shit on someone and me
Mm-hmm.
just talking to someone I do trust about an issue or concern. That's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are some things that get in the way of trust for me.
so dismissive language or dismissive tones, right? Again, lack of interest. I think
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to showing lack of interest. Like, I'm trying to think. Let's just move on now. Like, no, like, first of
Yeah.
all, like, how dare you? I wasn't done talking. Like, I think it's okay to be like, I think it's honestly okay to be like, hey, um, I'm really tired of talking about this subject. I really have nothing more input. I don't think we're getting anywhere. Can we table it for now and move on?
Mm-hmm.
That's different versus like, let's just move on. Like, we've talked about this enough. Let's just move. Like, no, no,
Yeah.
like, that's not okay. That's rude, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna break the trust.
Yeah, like you're not taking my feelings about something into consideration.
Right.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah. So like, it's definitely okay to stick up for yourself and tell people what you need,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not okay to like just like shut it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there might be certain situations where you need to, but
Yeah. So like again, like be careful. Like be
yeah.
careful because even if you need to, you could still probably break the trust that you're trying to build with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's a way in which to shut it down. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was perfectly fine. Like, hey, you know what? It doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. Does everyone agree? Can we just table it for now and come back to it another time?
Mm-hmm.
Or like it seems like we all said what we needed to say. We're not agreeing. Can we just drop it? Like, is that okay with everyone? Or does anyone have something they still need to say? You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's gonna be like, okay, like, well, even if they're not agreeing with me, I can still trust them to be honest and considerate and polite and not dismiss me or my thoughts or my feelings. Ooh. I think I just I think I just got a breakthrough. I think I just got a breakthrough.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. So I can now share that insight with my therapist. All right. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Um okay, so when someone doesn't say what they mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're being evasive or opaque, and that creates that uneasiness, and I quickly spiral down the road of mistrust,
Mm.
right? So yeah, those are things that break trust for me. Like if they're being like fishy or whatever.
Oh, another one. When someone doesn't come through when they say they're going to, and that can be like for anything, work, interpersonal, a relationship. Like something as simple as like, "Oh yeah, I will return this item to you next week." I ain't never seen it again.
Right. No,
Like,
that definitely breaks down trust. Now, I do believe the exception to that for me, just for me, is if you communicate like something's happening.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like,
Like,
yeah,
hey,
I
like,
couldn't
no, go ahead. Go ahead, Leia.
yeah, like I couldn't do this thing you asked me to because something very important came up or like I ran out of time. Yeah, I might be annoyed, but like I get it. You're telling me that that's fine. It's when I like come back expecting this and it's not done, you're like, I just didn't do it.
Yeah, and then you start being evasive. Like, what is going on here?
Exactly. Um, anything else you think gets in the way?
No, I'm pretty sure some other things get in the way.
Yeah.
Hey, listeners, viewers, tell us some of the things that get in the way or things that break down trust for you.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to
Yeah.
know.
So now that we've kind of talked about the things that get in the way of building trust, what can we do to start building trust?
Um, I think if you're honest about like what your expectations for someone is, but that takes a like maturity, like communicational maturity. Don't know if there's an actual word for that, but yeah, I think that's more of like a mature thing to kind of realize. Like, especially, actually, it works in all sorts of relationships, like interpersonal, romantic, work, especially work. When you're clear about like needing something or expecting something from someone, I feel like that can build trust and rapport and stuff.
Yeah, so sometimes I struggle about speaking up, right? Yes, it may not seem like Lamont struggles about speaking up, but there's sometimes an internal battle where it's like, you should speak up. I'm like, no, I don't want to. It's going to be uncomfortable. And so then it's like, be brave. Like, you need to communicate this, otherwise they're not going to know, and you can't hold them accountable. And so this is literally the conversation that I'm having in my head. And I'm like, so I have to dig deep sometimes. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to say this correctly. But like, please know, like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. What are your thoughts? You know?
Another way to build trust, I think, is like building rapport with someone. Like if you're trying to have a friendship or even turn a friendship into a romantic relationship, building a rapport by finding things you have in common.
Yes. So relating, finding common ground. Yes. And then this is very helpful in language. So developing a common language, right? If you notice, like if you've watched several of our podcasts, I'm always having us define something. Like, what does this mean to you?
Yeah.
Right? If you attend like one of my youth groups I'm always having like, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like I have them break it down for themselves so they have their own definition. And then I might tie in a textbook definition, so we have a working definition. So it's everything that you said and this. So now that we have that on mind, let's have a deeper conversation, right? So I'm always helping, my goal is to always help people like find common ground, and also discover what they know, right? Because we know so much, but sometimes we don't realize we know so much.
True. Yeah. I think
So
something.
so that's part of building rapport.
Yeah. I think something I struggle with in building trust is reciprocated feelings and stuff in a relationship. Like sometimes it's me, sometimes it's the other person. But like if you are doing all these like trust building things with someone and they're not reciprocating, or if someone is trying to develop a relationship with you and you're not reciprocating, I don't think there can be trust, like maybe on one end, but it's very one-sided.
Right.
So.
And I feel like that's very much what's happening at my job is it is one-sided. And I feel like they aren't putting in the effort. So I like one example comes to mind. It was the weekend. It really wasn't work related, but they are very into this one subject. And I was like, oh, like I should share this with them because that's what they're interested in. And hopefully, like it was like, the first thought was like, they're interested in this. And so I thought of them and I thought of sharing it with them just because they're interested. But then like the thought was like, oh, and because we've been struggling, maybe this could help in the relationship. I don't think they were rude per se, but when she messaged back, she was like, "Oh yeah, like I know about this guy. Like it's an animal, and he's really cool." And I was like, "Oh well, you know that's fair." Like, and so I took a moment. I was like, "Oh, that didn't go the way I wanted it." But I was thinking, what if she would have messaged me something about Beyonce? And I'm like, okay, well that's. I'm a Beyonce like whiz. Like I know so many things. Like you can't really catch me off guard usually. So like I was like, okay, samesies. So I was like, okay, like I think my heart was in the right place, but then just kind of like, And again, that was me giving her the benefit of the doubt, like her not trying to be rude. Um, I want to say there's a more recent sample where I was like taken back, like, oh my gosh, like that was uncalled for, or she just missed an opportunity, but I can't think of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What are some other ways that you have to build trust, Lamont? You gotta educate me here.
So, curiosity, asking questions, and remember your tone matters. What you say matters. People are going to take that in, especially if they're feeling people. Some people don't care, right? Like we have different type of people that process differently. But if you're trying to relate to someone and you're trying to show respect, and remember, respect is consideration of others.
Mm-hmm.
Your tone really matters. And I'm definitely a tone sensitive person.
Mm.
So I'm going to pick up on like, whoa, like, hold up, what was that? Like,
Yeah.
who you coming at like that? Like, what's going on? You're going to put that defense, you're going to put that wall up, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you're thoughtful in your language and not dismissing my feelings, and you're including, like, you're giving me opportunities for me to include my feelings and my thoughts.
Mm-hmm. So here's an interesting question. Do you think a relationship, whether interpersonal, romantic, or work, can survive without trust?
No, because a part of trust is being honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I don't feel safe, how can I be honest with you?
Mm.
If I don't feel comfortable, I'm probably going to hide things and not show up.
Yeah.
So we're not going to have a pretty solid relationship.
Yeah. Well, like, here's the thing. You say, well, if I don't trust you, I'm going to hide things. Do you think that means that even, like, your deepest secrets that you don't want to share with people, is that not trusting that person?
So,
like, I think that more so isn't like a friendship or a romantic relationship,
right.
you know?
Right. So I guess it depends on what you're trying to develop and who you're trying to develop it with. Because at work, there's obviously some things you should not talk about.
Of course.
Right? But let's say like the little things, like you're asked to work on a project. I might try to do it all myself because I don't trust that you'll have my back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it comes down to this project. And so there's dishonesty there. And then like there's bound to be conflict if you're doing it all yourself and it was given to you both, and like, you know, it makes it hard to work with that person. So hopefully people can be mature and rise above and call on other skills. But at the end of the day, like, did you really enjoy working with that person?
Mm-hmm.
Or where you're just like on edge, like, if I do this, then this is gonna happen. If I do this, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know?
I think in like a friendship or a romantic relationship, I'm just wondering at what level does trust like not play a role? For example, there are things about myself that I know that I don't share with people because either it makes me uncomfortable or it's stuff that I regret or like I don't like about myself, whether they're an old thing, a new thing, yada yada. I wouldn't say personally that means I don't trust, like, say you. It's just like I don't want to share it.
Yeah.
Because it's like a internal thing. So does that mean I don't trust you? Because I trust you.
Right. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's distrust. Now, if it involved me some kind of way, I think it is your duty to tell me and inform me.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't really involve me, that's not, you don't necessarily need to share that with me. However, if it's something that's like tearing you down on the inside and you needed help, I hope you would reach out and be like,
Yeah.
hey, like, this is what I've been
Yeah.
experiencing. And we
Well,
can
it
be like,
doesn't
okay.
have anything to do with you, so don't worry.
No. And so like then I can be like, oh, let's try to get you some help. Like,
Yeah.
because like again, like those negative voices on the
Mm-hmm.
inside that tell us that we are horrible people, we're undeserving, we're unworthy. We have to rewrite those, right?
Yeah.
And some days we're really, really good, and then some days we're not. And if
Yeah.
we're having more bad days than not, it's very important that we do reach out to
Yeah.
people that can help us get help.
Yeah, that's true. I just also think that it's okay to have like a deepest, darkest secret. You know?
Yeah, like again,
Yeah.
if it's something that you're managing well,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't involve that person or other people,
Yeah.
then that's yours to keep, unless you
Mm-hmm.
decide to share it or when you decide to share it. Um, so Brene Brown has this amazing point where she's like, only share or only be vulnerable with the people that matter, right? That people that deserve to hear your stories.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that deserve to hear our stories are the people that show up for us all the
Yeah.
time, that come with no judgment, that come with love and support. Those are the people that deserve to hear our stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot that. I forgot that one time. So I had been intimate with this one person without being fully like intimate. So like there was like this other like incredibly intimate moment where there was touching and closeness and sharing, and I felt so like full of like like just like belonging with this one individual. And so like I just started sharing, like I was just like on this high of just like
Yeah.
sharing, and then they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. And like they're kind of like, they were also a person of like social work, psychology study. So they were like, you pulled too much out of the emotional bank right now. You did a deficit, and this is kind of now like I need to
Yeah.
like distance myself. And I was so crushed because I felt so close, and I was like, oh, I forgot that rule. Like
Yeah.
we literally had like just met and
Yeah.
decided to engage in this like close experience, but they hadn't really earned,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That goes back to like reciprocating.
Yes, yes.
I've had a few friendships like that where I've like overshared and then they've ghosted me and I'm like, oops, that was not the time. So we've talked about like building trust, but what if someone breaks your trust? Can it be rebuilt?
It can, in time.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the person,
Yeah.
right? So, what does this person mean to you? Is this something you're still willing to go through with this person? Or is it time to end that relationship and move on? Or redefine that relationship?
I also think it takes a certain type of person. Because I've kind of noticed there are a few different types of people. One being someone who forgive and forget. There's also the type of people who forgive but never forget. And then there's the people who neither forgive nor forget.
I think I'm more along the school of definitely forgive, but never forget. Because, like, if you forget, it could rear up again and get you.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, I'm trying to think of a relationship that went sour and what happened with that. Yes, okay, I have one. So in college, I had a group of friends. And at this time, I was like reaching out to make friends everywhere. And I would invite these friends to everything. And so I had invited this one guy with this group of friends out, and they did not like him. And this was not a guy that I was trying to like be romantic with. It was
Mm-hmm.
just someone that I wanted to befriend for whatever reason. And I guess I had done that a few times, and they told me like, "Hey, we don't really want you bringing people around anymore because you're not bringing people that we want to hang out with." And that kind of like, well, that hurt numero
Right.
uno.
Right.
But what really hurt is that they actually stopped talking to me after that.
Mm.
And I guess I hadn't realized I had done this so many times. Granted, I was pretty young too. I think I was only like 18 or 19. So
Okay.
still learning,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
figure out what's acceptable and not. But they all stopped talking to me after that. And they pretty much ghosted me. And that really hurt more
Yeah.
than being told I had messed up. Forward a little bit, I think a while passed. Like, I think maybe even a few years passed. And I ran into one of them at an event. And he just goes, "Hey, Leah." And I'm like, "Mm-mm. Goodbye."
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "Really? You're still mad?" I'm like, "Yes. Goodbye." I have not talked to him since. And I see him around every once in a while, and I just turn the other way. I treat him worse than I treat a lot of my ex-boyfriends.
Oh, wow.
I think I was just so hurt
Mhm.
by the fact that they just all ghosted me, and it was his fault. I don't want to say fault, but he's the reason why everyone else ghosted me in the friend group. Because he decided, well, I don't like the way Leia did that, you know?
Right. Right.
So while I'm usually a forgive and forget kind of person, this guy has like killed his trust with me. I don't trust him. I am sometimes worried about some of the stuff he may say about me because we still are in like the same scene together. And so we pass by each other every once in a while. But in that instance, I can neither forgive nor forget for some reason. And I don't think there's a way for him to ever rebuild trust with me.
Right. I think for yourself, like if you can find a way to forgive him, I would. Just for yourself. I'm not saying like let him back in, because like that's not part of forgiving, right? You don't necessarily have to let
Yeah.
someone back in to forgive them, but just so you're not holding on to like the hurt or the
Yeah.
bitterness, you know.
I think maybe at this point I have forgiven him because it's like it's been freaking 9 years. It's been 9 years. Like, I have not forgotten. It still hurts when I think about it because some of those people I had considered like on the way to being good friendships, now they're all like I've repaired a few of them. Some of them it's just like a very like you do you, I do me.
Right.
But we're not going to be friends. But for him, maybe there's some forgiveness there, but not a forgetting.
Yeah. And so going to my coworker who I'm struggling building trust with, building teaming with, I kind of just like come to the conclusion that we're gonna have to find a way to work together where we're getting the work done, but there's not gonna be a lot of trust there. It's definitely gonna affect our relationships, and it's gonna cause issues and problems down the road that we're gonna have to like work through, unfortunately, because I don't see it improving on their part. I'm definitely trying to do my part to improve, but one-sided, not reciprocated. And I wanted to go back to that emotional bank because you had said something that reminded me. I think the question was like, so basically, like, you guys are building up these things. So like, Leia, you're my account. It's fully high. So if you were to do something that hurt my feelings, you just deposit a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And, like, I'm pretty sure I can talk to you and it'd be like, go back.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine you doing anything that would be like such a withdrawal that would like ruin our relationship. Um, so I think what had happened with you guys was like you guys were building, but all of a sudden that one guy he just took out so much,
Mm-hmm.
and there was nothing left, and you're like, I'm in a deficit.
Yeah.
Here. I'm in an emotional deficit. Um, so it came down to the decision of is this someone I want to try to continue working relationship with,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And it sounds like you chose no. Like it sounds like you didn't look for closure or try to repair anything. It was just like, wow, like they ghosted me, and actually it sounds like they didn't give you room to like get that closure or whatever. It was
No.
very much like no communication, no nothing. So they kind of made that decision for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those are people definitely that don't deserve to be in your lives.
Yeah.
People, I think, depending on what happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's remorse, and they're trying. Um, I think that's different, and
Yeah.
that should be considered differently. Like
Yeah.
you should definitely take your time and decide when you're ready if that's something you want to pursue or not. But I think it deserves different consideration.
Mm-hmm.
So I think early on I had talked about me and my sister and how there's a divide in the family. My adopted sister,
Yeah, a few episodes ago.
yeah, like
Yeah.
many episodes
Yeah.
ago. That has still not
Mm.
been resolved, right? As much as I want to be resolved, and I've done things to resolve it,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm not sure she knows or doesn't know. Um, Whatever it is, she feels like she can't trust me, and so she's pulled away and
Mm-hmm.
pulled out.
Yeah.
I had just talked to my mom this week because it was my birthday. Like we went out for a birthday. And she's like, I think you guys will reconcile, but it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Especially with the situation, the way because she's going through a situation right now.
Mm-hmm.
So probably when that situation's over, that's probably when you guys will
Yeah.
reconcile. You know.
You have like the
Like,
mental and
yeah.
emotional energy to yeah.
So time.
Mm-hmm.
Time. So I think the question was, if someone breaks your trust, can you rebuild trust? And I
Mm-hmm.
think it can. But what do you need to rebuild that trust? You need to be willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister was never willing to listen to me. It was
Mm-hmm.
very much like, you did this? No. Uh, she wasn't willing to talk it out with me.
Yeah.
And then communicate. Right? And so interpersonal communication is very important. And
Yeah.
what's the purpose behind personal intercommunication? It is really to build trust, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can communicate. So the way I'm going to use it is I'm going to listen to what you're saying, and you're going to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, if something's like not clear, we're going to repeat our understanding. We're going to acknowledge, like, you said this, or is this what you were trying to say? Because this is how I understood it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gives me or you a chance to correct it or be like, no, you got it. You got it, right? And then, so you're listening, you're acknowledging, and you're confirming. And that's the basis of interpersonal communication right there.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, you can build trust with someone, especially if they're following through and showing up and being respectful and showing that they are caring and considerate.
Exactly.
But if someone's not doing that, then I'm not gonna want to spend time with them. I'm not gonna want to be close with them.
Yeah.
And so, what the other part of last week's episode was like that emotional thing. Like, honestly, if I see my sister, she's probably not gonna want a hug from me, and I'm not gonna want to hug her because I'm not gonna feel safe. Like,
Yeah.
there's a possibility I could get rejected, and that would hurt a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want her to feel uncomfortable or push her boundaries. So right now we can't be physical because we are missing trust on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you do have to have that trust to even be physical with friends or a lover or a coworker or whatever.
And that ties into our platonic intimacy. And that's why this is part 2.
Why it's part 2.
We brought it back around, man. We did it.
So, with all of that said, Leah, do you feel like you missed opportunities growing up, not sitting in some girls' laps at school, or developing that kind of like bond where you could like touch their hair, or whatever?
Probably. Probably. I still don't know if it was a trust thing, or maybe just maybe on some level it was. I think I felt very uncomfortable and unsure if that was appropriate from me or not, and I don't know.
Well,
maybe I just didn't trust them on like some level I wasn't realizing at the time.
yeah. So I think we are multifaceted people. So it's seldom just one issue. It probably was a multitude of things, right? It probably there was a little bit of mistrust because you couldn't really like. I remember you saying they were very nice to you when you first got to that school, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, you grew up in a really religious, restrictive religion, right?
Yeah.
And so like sitting in people's laps wasn't okay. Right? Like that's an absolutely no. Like
Yeah.
you're not gonna do that because that's not what proper little Christians do.
Yeah.
Right? So now you have the feelings part, and then you have the religion aspect and different things. But then you see other people doing it, you're like, well, why can't I do that? But you can't. You're not at that time you weren't aware enough to unpack everything. Maybe you unpacked a few things then, but there's probably so many layers there.
Probably. I'm an onion, like in Shrek.
But you gotta have friends. Tying it all together.
I do want to go take a break.
Okay.
But something I just wanted to add. So when you want to rebuild trust with someone, that's great, but I just want to remind people that you need to remember your boundaries.
Yeah.
If someone hurts you on a deep level, physically, emotionally, mentally, you need to also set up boundaries to protect yourself. And I think that's one reason why in that friendship, I refuse to try and rebuild trust or try and maintain that friendship, because he crossed a boundary with me, with some of the things he told the other people. So, that's a boundary that he pushed. I'm done. And so if anyone is struggling with rebuilding trust in a relationship, with someone who has pushed boundaries, I think that takes a different level of thought and communication and like knowing yourself. Like, is this relationship beneficial to you to have to forgive and forget or rebuild or whatever? So I just wanted to put that out there because it kind of, different people, different situations, but remember your boundaries.
Boundaries are a love language. They are a way to show you love people by listening to them, acknowledging them, and following them.
Yes. Alrighty, I just wanted to say that. Let's go take a break.
Let's do it.
Okay, Lamont. Today, we're gonna finally do our Q&A.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for all the hundreds of thousands of questions that you submitted. But we'll probably only pick like 6.
You're so full of crap, dude. All right. So
that was a tribute to the Lamont N Leah show. We used to like pretend.
I know. So I guess we're not as popular as we thought. We didn't get that many questions, but it's okay. We're gonna answer the questions we got.
Yes.
Because we're appreciative.
Yes.
But anytime you guys want to know something, feel free to leave it in the comments. Send us a message. We may answer it right there on the spot, or we may do another Q&A in the future. Who knows? We'll see. Okay, let's go ahead and just start answering questions. The first one is, what is your favorite memory of Lamont / Leah? So I'm guessing you answer for me, I answer for you, etc. Would you like to go first?
I have so many.
I know, right?
I want to say like the one that pops into my head like right away is when we were doing Lamont and Leah's show, and Leah did the Christmas special and she was singing. And I thought she just looked so beautiful, and I've always loved like Leah's singing voice. So that was like definitely one of my favorite moments.
Oh, how sweet. I would say one of my favorite Lamont memories is the many, many, many times we blasted music in the little putt-putt, and just sang and danced our heart outs while driving, because that's so safe.
Hey, I was in control the entire time.
It was a lot of fun. It was great. Okay, next question. Who does what on the Lamont and Leah podcast?
Ooh, that's a very good question. Do you want to take this one, Leah, or?
Sure, I can talk for myself. So I'm responsible for the editing as well as any of the graphic design that you see, from our logos, our Instagram posts, to a future secret project that you will see soon. And I occasionally chime in with like topic suggestions and like write stuff, but that's more Lamont's strong suit.
Yeah, so I book a lot of our guests. Leah can book guests too, but I do majority of the booking. I write a lot of the scripts or the outlines. It's not scripts, they're really outlines of questions that we're going to ask, and like kind of like the direction that we're going to go. I promote.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of the promotion. I go to a lot of the pages. I post in groups. Trying to build up our numbers.
Yeah, so I'll make the graphics, but I'll send them to him, and then he posts them. So occasionally I'll
post too. Like Leah takes care of the Instagram. I take mainly care of the Facebook page.
Yeah, but I usually just copy and paste what he posted on Facebook and then put it on Instagram. I don't do much work there. I also, for the most part, come up with the ideas for the funny intros, which we do at the beginning of the podcast. Some of them are not written. Some of them they just happen. But occasionally I'll be like, ooh, let's do something funny like this. And then we'll just do it.
And that's actually an homage to the Lamont and Leah show, the original show, because that's how a lot of our episodes will go. Like, what are we going to do today? And, like, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And then, like, just do it without a script.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to keep a little of the, like, magic, but also be more structured.
Yeah. Yeah. I also handle the money. There's no money, but if there was, I handle the money.
We could get more money, you guys. We could get more money. We could hire a team to do a lot of things that we need to get done to give you guys better quality. If you guys would just share our episodes with your friends, and make sure you tune in each week, and like our numbers go up, we could literally make money. So if you want to support us by listening and tuning in and sharing, and when you see that I send a podcast or the podcast is on my page and you decide to share it, like be like, oh, let me share this with this person and this person, you could really help us out. It would help a lot.
Just a side note, if you want to help us, like, just give us money, there's a link on our Anchor page. You can just click it and send us money.
Straight husband Marcus.
Anyway, moving on. Okay, this next question is a little more serious, but that's okay. We can answer serious questions. Do you believe the word tolerant has lost its original meaning?
So what is the original meaning of tolerance?
Yeah, so I just typed it on Google. Yeah, I typed it on Google. Tolerant, defined by Oxford, says showing willingness to allow the existence of opinions or behavior that one does not necessarily agree with. See, the thing is, I feel this question comes from, like, I don't know the person who sent this. Maybe you do. I don't.
I do.
I'm not going to put their name out there because
Okay.
I want to keep all this, whatever. I think that a lot of people view people as intolerant nowadays because there's a lot more of calling people out for bullshit. I'm just going to be straight up. Because, like, a lot of people our age are tired of people being judged for being who they are. And this can be skin color, orientation, career. I know I personally am tired of it. And I am not really afraid to be like, no, that's not something you say.
Right.
And I've heard the argument told back to me like, oh, well, you're just being politically correct and you care too much. And like, for me personally, I think it's more tolerant to call people out on stuff like that. Like if someone is saying, oh, well, I don't think this religion is valid because it's not my religion. I'm going to call them out on it and be like, no, they're just as valid in their beliefs. They're allowed to believe what they believe. And that just goes across the board.
Yeah, that's what America was about, founded.
Yeah. So I think the whole thing of people saying, well, no one's tolerant anymore because you aren't allowing people to believe stuff. And like, no, you can believe what you want. I'm just going to tell you when you're being an asshole. There you go. Step off my soapbox.
Okay. So has tolerance lost its original meaning? I want to say no. From what I read, it means to endure, fortitude. So there's a lot of things that people do tolerate. Should we tolerate racism? No, we shouldn't. Should we tolerate sexism? No, we shouldn't. Should we tolerate anyone degrading any person for any reason? No, we shouldn't. Like, that stuff should not be tolerated. And so for us to stand up and be assertive or take action, maybe there might be a sense of us losing tolerance, but it really shouldn't be tolerated.
Yeah.
What things should be tolerated, Leah? Like, what do you think?
I think if someone... Okay. So we have... What's been in the news? I really feel like religion's been in the news a lot lately. And while I may not agree with... I don't want to put anyone on... Like, I don't want to put anyone on blast. But I feel like the biggest issue recently has been Muslim versus Christian.
Okay.
Like, I'm not Muslim. I don't believe in Muslim beliefs. I mean, maybe I agree with a few, but like, I'm not going to say, oh, like, yeah, I'm a Muslim, because I'm not. But I think it is tolerant to be like, you do you, boo. Like, you want to wear your hijab, wear your hijab. Yeah. That don't mean nothing to me.
Whether it be as a sign of religion compliance, whether it be for safety in the culture, whether it be because you just like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of people are seeing me being okay with Muslim as not being tolerant of Christianity. And I'm like, no, you do you. Go to church on your Sunday, go to church on your Saturday, like go to church on your Wednesday night prayer meeting. Like that's fine.
So really what's happening is the problem of scarcity and people feeling like there's not enough. So if I'm tolerant of Muslim culture, then I'm not tolerant of Christian culture.
Yeah.
No. There like on this, Leia's infinite. Like there is no such scarcity. She's tolerant of both. Just because you're tolerant of both. You appreciate Christian culture, some of their ideas. You appreciate Muslim culture, some of their ideas. You feel like both have equal standing, and both should be able to do what they want to do when they want to do it, believe what they want to believe. There's enough for everyone. It's infinite. There's enough for everybody.
Yeah. I do think it is quite funny that people think being tolerant of one thing means you are anti the opposition. I think you also see this a lot in the argument of pro-life, pro-choice.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Too bad we're not playing that game right now.
Because even though pro-life exists and you're tolerant that it exists, even if you're pro-choice, doesn't mean, like, you know what I mean? It's not whatever.
So, like, let's just say, like, let's be honest, or I'll be honest with me. Like, I am pro-life, but I also believe in pro-choice as an equal measure. So, if I was in that situation and I had control and all the power, I would definitely be pro-life. But I don't degrade or think poorly of someone who's pro-choice.
Yeah. I think both can exist. I mean, good and evil exist, black and white exist, monochrome, rainbow exist, you know? Like, oppositions exist. And I think tolerance is being okay with both of them, regardless of which side you stand, quote, unquote, on. So, has tolerance lost its meaning? I think no. I think people are just being more vocal about it. That was a long question.
Right. Yeah, that was a very good conversation.
I know.
What's the next
Mini episode within an episode. Who knew?
one? Right.
Okay, so moving on to something a little bit lighter. Will Lamont ever find love?
I don't know. It's not looking hopeful, people. Or if I find love, it's probably not going to be traditional love. So, I don't know. We'll see.
I think there's someone.
Remain to be seen.
I think yes. Love has no age or monetary or career or whatever restrictions. Like, there's no restrictions on it. So,
well, I've loved a lot of people.
yeah, and plus Lamont's so full of love.
Yeah, and I love someone right now. It's just that's complicated, and it's going to remain complicated just because of the way the circumstances are. And
Exactly.
yeah.
So, will Lamont find love? Tune in next time. Okay. Let's see. Moving on to the next question. This was a comment from a friend that I'm going to pose as a question. They pretty much want to know if we are going to go live and if they can call in if we do. Eventually, but not next week.
I'm glad because when we first started, Leia was like, "No, absolutely not. I will not surrender control."
See,
I'm being dramatic, but that's pretty much what happened.
I'm okay with going live, but I don't think it will ever be a constant thing. Like,
Okay.
remember our friends Ashley from how many episodes ago? So many episodes ago now.
Yeah,
They go live every week.
yeah, every week.
And so their stuff is all unedited, off script, like whatever happens, go with the flow. That's a little too much for me. That's too much pressure. But we are teasing, or yeah, teasing the thought of maybe doing one soonish. We'll see. But yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, but you can always be a guest star, especially if there's a topic that you're
Mm-hmm.
interested in, like talking with myself or Leia about. You can always suggest a topic if you don't want to like actually talk on it yourself. Um, there's lots of ways to be involved. Watch an episode and comment. We love that because we know that our work is being seen or heard or both. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. And the last question is, what will they do next? Those crazy kids.
So many, so many things are coming.
Yes.
Like Leia said, there's a secret project coming.
Yes. Hold on. I'm just gonna look at our list and kind of pick a few and tease
Okay.
them. So let's see. One of the things we want to touch on, and this isn't in any specific order, because some of these are kind of like like
Scheduled.
right now. So one of them is talking about personality traits, Myers-Briggs.
Ooh.
Another one is about conformity. Another is about body image, body positivity.
All about the body positivity. I'm all about that base. About that base.
And one that's coming pretty soon, sorry, I'm gonna break this here, is we're gonna be talking about Latinx culture.
Ooh. That's gonna be an exciting episode. So
That is.
definitely tune in.
Yes. So, what will they do next? Everything! All right. Activity over. Thank you for asking questions. Again, leave some more
Yes.
so we can answer them again. Okay. Thanks.
So Leia, are you ready to wrap up this topic?
Yes. Let's wrap up.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say or any thought that we probably didn't cover or that you didn't think about or wanted to say but didn't know how to like put it in there?
Yes. So we talked about trust, what it is, what happens if you break it, things that can break it, how to rebuild it if needed. But and that's very kind of like on you looking at someone to have a relationship with. I think we also need to talk about like you as a person. How can you be trustworthy so that someone else who's looking at you to like seek a relationship, whether it be interpersonal, friendship, romantic, coworker, whatever. There's things you got to do too. It's not just all on them.
Right.
You got to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
Worthy of trust.
Yeah. I guess I can give some personal examples.
Mm-hmm.
So, my adoptive parents, they have let me borrow a lot of money for them. But anytime I borrow money from them, I have a plan, like to pay them back, and it's not gonna take forever. It's usually within like 2 weeks or more, like or less, right? And if for some reason something happens where I can't, I just recommunicate like, hey mom, this fell through. But I'm making sure like you have this by this time, if that's okay with you. If not, like I will pay you back and I'll figure it out, And like usually she's cool and she's like, and like this doesn't happen often, first of all. So, but usually she'll be like, okay, cool. Don't worry about it. I can trust you, right? We built that trust where I've consistently kept my word and did that, right? When they asked me to show up to important things, like my brother, like he was having a hard time with some things, and it was like, I will talk to Lamont. Like, if you get Lamont, I made a plan to show up and be there for them to support them through that, So are you showing up for the people? Like, so I practice being trustworthy. I'm showing up. I'm keeping my word. I'm building important relationships to me. And it's important that I have those aspects of trust. So that's just kind of personal, like on a personal level.
I also think part of being trustworthy is being honest. Whether that's telling someone that you're not feeling comfortable with whatever the situation is, but also, like I said before, letting people know your expectations.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if someone does something and you didn't like tell them that you expected option A and they did option B and then you're upset, that's kind of going to break your trust with them because they're going to be like, okay, well, this person didn't tell me what they wanted. They just expected this out of me and now they have a bad attitude. Like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't feel safe with them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
being honest.
And I feel like it's a little complicated, right? Because, like, on one point, like, all right, so you didn't communicate the expectation. That's your bad, right? But something did happen and you had those feelings and you're responding to those feelings. So I feel like you're justified in that too. And it's complicated because you did not communicate. So you have to take responsibility like on your own. Like, I didn't communicate this and it did affect me this way. And I'm sorry I didn't communicate this before. And if your goal is to do better next time, do better next time. But I think that can be a little bit complicated.
Yeah. But I think it's okay to like feel your feelings about something. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm upset. But realistically, who is the one at fault?
Right. So be willing to take be willing to see how you played a role in that coming about. I think that's part of being trustworthy.
And
claiming it.
And I think kind of going into what you said about keeping your word, if you are telling someone that you are a safe space for them, be a safe space for them.
Right.
So, like, if you are trying to think of an example.
So, a few weeks ago, we had Charisse on here, and I had shared that a friend had come to me, and they told me they were using cocaine. And I remained a safe space for them, a trustworthy person for them, by showing concern for them. I didn't come off judgmental and be like, what are you doing? You're being stupid. Like, did you even do the research? Like, what are you thinking? Like, it wasn't like that. It was like, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. I was like, okay, great. What have you noticed? Like very like non-judgmental, like way of being. So he felt safe and he knew that I still loved him.
I think to add on to that, it also, like, so for that example, if you were to be like, yes, I'm a safe space for you, yes, I support you, etc., but then you were to turn around and like make a big post on Facebook like, oh my God, I hate drugs, they're terrible, and people who do them are the worst. That that would break your trust, his trust, because it'd just be kind of like, okay, well, how come you're being nice to me if you think all drug users are terrible people?
Yeah.
Granted, Lamont doesn't support drugs, but that's not to say that he thinks every single person is a terrible person for, so you gotta remain a safe space. You can't just kind of like wishy-washy. Well, for you, no. Yeah.
Wait, did you see that post where I was like, life is all about drugs or something? Like, I think I posted it. And so like what I was referring to is like, I had like a really good 3 days. But like it was just a natural high, and so I'm like, oh my gosh,
love
like
those.
I was like, that serotonin is working. Like I'm just high up here and stuff, and I'm like, and then I get the realization like life is all about drugs. I just prefer to get my natural, But like really, like life is all about drugs. I'm not saying take drugs. I'm just saying. Our life responds around like drugs, natural or not natural.
All right. But yeah, so in order to have trust with other people, build trust with other people, you need to be a trustworthy person too. It's not one-sided. It's a two-way street. Ding! There we go. That's my wrap up for the day.
All right.
Yeah. I guess we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for watching or listening.
Or listening. Bye.
Bye. Today's life lesson is life is ironic. We go through so many experiences to understand other points of view. For example, it takes depression or sadness to know happiness. It takes stress to understand or know calm. It takes absence to value presence. We experience so much on different types of extremes just so we can have a fuller life. So life is ironic, but life can be full. And that is today's life lesson.